Hey guys, we're back with an emergency ban list. They don't call it that, but since all they did was ban 6 cards randomly on what was it, like a Friday or something like that? Saturday? Yesterday. It was yesterday early morning, so it would be Friday for America. They banned a bunch of cards, which is good, but we're going to talk about it just a little bit, because there's not so much as problems with it, because this is all good stuff to get rid of, right? Like, I'm not going to stand here and say that keeping these cards legal is a good thing, right? So there are some funny things, but there are still inherent issues with there's inherent issues with the way they ban cards, right? Where it's like, there's got to be some like give and take on whether or not a card should be banned, and go from and kind of like go from there, right? And so the argument was going to be like, we'll go through this real quick. So it's Arsenal with Protoss, which is hilarious because they unbanned it and then they've rebanned it, and it was really weird because they unbanned it right before releasing the strongest rank 4 deck ever, and then a little bit longer before unbanning a bunch of the Zodiac stuff, which is arguably probably the second best rank 4, besides like Onomatopoeia, like all that stuff. Go, like that's all really strong now as well. So it's kind of funny that they did that. And Infernal Flame Banshee is a card that can just search flags and search Protoss, right? Mjolnir has been banned. So this is the second artifact card to get banned because of its lingering floodgate of not being able to special summon. It is meant to be a caveat on you to get more follow-up and lock you into artifacts for that turn. Means that like IPSP plays don't really work if you do that earlier, but it's easy to play around. But they do it with the rank 5 princess chick, right? So they summon it and then it becomes your opponent's turn, and then this goes for the next turn too, which super weird. They've got rid of 2 of the statues, Drought and Inferno. Inferno is also another one that can be searched off of Infernal Flame Banshee, and in this case also Bonfire, so it's a searchable floodgate. They got rid of Fossil Diner, which tends to be the core normal summon for any kind of stun deck that doesn't really have a normal. They just go, yep, Fossil Diner on top, can't special, have the out or don't. Ouroboros saw play once again in the Ryziel, rank 4, super strong. Could be summoned back off of Eclipse Twins to rip another card out of the hand. I think you're only getting 2 rips out of it, but it's still 2 rips, right? And then D-Barrier. D-Barrier, look, I'm going to say, Jake, go fuck yourself. Everyone thinks that D-Barrier should be banned. It never should have come back. Well, not come back, but it never should have stayed on the list ever, right? It should have been banned the whole damn time. I can't tell you how many games I've lost to a D-Barrier being flipped. D-Barrier being the epitome of a terrible card design, because it lingers and it's a trap card, which means it's almost impossible to interact with, right? Now, list is good. I would argue it's too short. My big problem with the list is, is this just going to push back our actual ban list from December to later, because we now have this, okay? But this list should be bigger. It should be bigger. I also argue that maybe it shouldn't include like Protoss and Mjolnir and Ouroboros, right? Because realistically, they might be a problem, but I would argue that they're not the problem, right? I'm just gonna do this. No, hang on. Here we go. Because we're in Dueling Book, right? And so floodgates are bad. They are bad. Don't look at my deck. Get out of here. Oh. A, right? So floodgate's bad. We already are sitting on what? Like if I look up barrier statue, right? Because this doesn't get. Yeah, sick, brother. Let's just go really slow. So right now, only Winds is banned, and then Drought and Inferno are banned. So we still have 3 statues here, which can all still be played whenever, right? Your issue is that these things aren't searchable. They're not searchable, and no deck playing those types are really doing anything right now, right? So that means they'd also like probably take your normal summon. All the floodgates, so like anti-spell, like is at 1, and then like rivalry and Tick-Boo, they're all at 1, but they're all cards that can be like, oh, we'll pull one in, right? We'll pull one in just to be like, yep, these are at 1. There's a bunch of these at 1, right? And then you've got the statues, which are banned. So like realistically, like banned, right? You've got, so D-barrier. Why is my computer doing this? Dimensional barrier, right, is also banned. Okay, which is good. And then we look at the other dimension cards, right? So we've got, so for some reason, like this isn't banned. That's in the extra. Whoops. Like that's not banned, right? The dimension cards are an issue in general, but that's not banned. This has been limited to 1, so still not banned. This hasn't been touched. That just got hit. What else? What else are we looking at? That are like proper problem cards. So we had like Protoss. All right, Protoss is now banned. Artifact Mjolnir. So we look at Mjolnir. So Scythe is banned and Mjolnir just got banned, right? We look at Ouroboros. Right, he just got banned. Okay, and what are the floodgates? So these are the floodgates that have kind of been hit, not this one here, right? We'll move this down here real quick. So these are all banned, and they're all good bans. These haven't been touched. Well, these are at 1, and this hasn't been touched, right? So these are problem cards in general, right? They are floodgates that linger. They're hard to interact with, within reason, right? I would argue that this one and this one, these like one-of traps that you just flip and the activation happens, they're impossible to deal with, right? You can time them whenever you want to. They kind of need to be dealt with, right? How do I want to structure this? Because I don't want to argue and say that floodgates have a place in the game, but they almost do because of what other cards can do, right? So, as someone who played Rescue Ace, this and this, right? As someone who played Rescue, these 3 here were all issues, right? And so Judgment was really good at the time, but they just limited to 1. I don't think Judgment should be limited to 1, but whatever, right? But Anti-Spell's limited to 1, and I was playing it at 3 when I played Rescue Ace to stop these 2 cards, right? But let's say you're playing against someone that's playing like a fusion deck, right? These cards, like Raigeki and Lightning Storm, wiping out a back row, they're too strong, right? That's where stuff like this comes in, where it's like, sure, your opponent can't do anything, but it's the only reason why you'd get another turn, right? Because they Lightning Storm your back row and you use this, or even like something like a Book of Eclipse, right? If they go to Eclipse your front row and just book everything and you have nothing else to do, this could be the only reason why you live. These cards are an issue when your board doesn't get messed with at all, right? Like, even let's say you get hand trapped to death and then like end on nothing but a D barrier, this will give you another turn because other cards do too much. So there needs to be like a balancing act. I wish I wrote something down to like properly like section this kind of video about why I think that like floodgates, whilst being bad, they kind of have a place, but also like a lot of floodgates aren't really the inherent issue of what's happening, right? But this is the argument I have here with floodgates, is that you're going to be losing to a lot of board breakers now because you don't have the ability to protect yourself going first, post side. because these cards still exist, right? So if we like this here is hard because you can do it on turn 1, and this here is hard, and so are these ones realistically, because a lot of the time you're going to be like, oh, I'm playing into a board and under a floodgate. But there I reckon are just as many times where you're about to get your board wiped by like an evenly, and then flipping a D barrier and keeping one other card is the only reason why it keeps you in the game at all. Right? So if we start blanket just banning floodgates altogether, I think board breakers are going to have to go as well. I think they're going to have to go as well. Right? Because they're too strong. I think we're going to need to keep more like Book of Moon. Like Book of Moon's one that I think can stay because it's a one for one. I think even droplets are a really, really well designed board breaker because you have to spend resources, right? And you have to do it smart. Any of the forbidden cards, like any of the forbidden cards, they're all like not so much super playable, but they're all like 1-for-1, right? They're all like 1-for-1s. They all do small things. There's that new one coming out, Crown. It's not even in the database. It's sick. So even like an imperm, I think imperms isn't really a board breaker. It's a hand trap as well, but it's just well designed, right? Where it's like these big cards with these like have to go if these cards go, right? If these cards all go and like any way to kind of floodgate your opponent go, then these cards have to go, right? But I think there's a balancing act with knowing what needs to go or not, because whilst this ban list here should be bigger, right, there's got to be like a mathematical problem of being able to sort out what's dealable or not, right? So I've got this document here, right? So if we look at like floodgates and what is considered a floodgate, why are you white? Oh, because you're just stupid. Okay, are you gonna be able to write for me or not? Or is it all just gonna write in white? It's all gonna write in white. All right. We're not doing it like this then because it's not going to fucking show up. Useless computer, mate. Anyway, so we look at we look at what cards do and how they come out. So right now, for instance, we look at Protoss, right? So Protoss is searched for by Banshee, right? It's searched for by this thing here, right? Now, any 2/4s can make this to go into this. Now, would you argue that Protoss is the issue or that Banshee is the issue? Okay, maybe Banshee's the issue and not Protoss, right? Because either you open him at 3, you play him at 3 to potentially open him, or you play flag at 3, right? So then you have more chances of seeing him. But you're bricking up your deck then, right? Like there's more bricks in your deck to get to that point. But Banshee's in the extra. So maybe Banshee's the problem, right? We look at Mjolnir. And we look at who's the chick that gets her? Princess. This one, right? Now, Princess Quinquiri. Without this card, does this card do anything? So now do we look at it and go, Mjolnir is the problem? Or do we look at Princess being the problem? Because at what point do we find another 5 that can be summoned off of Princess or Quinquiri that is just as bad, and we're just in another spot where it can be locked? But if this card goes, right, we look at this. Ido? Is it? What's it called? Space? This thing. We got Ido. We have Raz. We have, it was Gossip, it was Gimmick Puppet. Nightmare, right? It was also potentially Scythe, right? Now, these cards were all used in Branded, right? Then we, right, in Branded. And then this is the dude that did it all. Right? This was the card that could search any of this. Like, sure, Branded Fusion dumps all of them, but this is the thing: untargetable, summons to your opponent's side of the field, right, on your opponent's turn, only on your opponent's turn, by the way, right? And yet, and as we see, like this here was summoning Scythe to begin with, then it was summoning Gimmick Puppet, Ido's still here, Ra's still here, right? But now it's summoning Spirit. It's summoning this little guy, okay? And Draco Tail can do this. I don't think Branded can do it pure, because Branded Fusion's so like integral. But would you argue that these cards are problems? Would you argue that this card's a problem? Because now, if this card stays, because all of this other stuff ends up getting banned, no, not this one, but all this other stuff ends up getting banned, if this card stays, and this card becomes the thing locking out of people, do we just kill the Blue Eyes deck and ban Spirit with either blue? Is that the next way to go? Even Ouroboros. We look at Ouroboros here, right? Ouroboros is an issue. Now, sure, it's, you know, the rank 4 decks are an issue, but the fact that it can rip 2 is really because of Eclipse Twins, which is also the reason why we had to completely neuter the deck. Like, if we look up Ryziel cards, if we look at Ryziel cards, we're at 1, 2, 1, 2, right? Like, we've almost destroyed this deck in any level of playability where it can play on its own. It needs to be linked with something else now to keep more level 4s popping up on board, right? And we even put Detonator down to 1. But you're still dealing with a recurring Detonator of Eclipse Twins is anywhere near. All you need is... You've now got 4 Detonators across any given point of turn. Like, Detonator does not stop going away. Now, what's worse? 3 Detonators in the extra deck, where they really only have access to 1 at any given point unless they play plug-in, or 4 Eclipse Twins, or 4 Detonators, right, which they have access to at almost any point, because it just needs to be sent to the graveyard, right? So arguably, this would be a problem card. Ryziel would barely have to go anywhere if it was just a couple of more Detonators and no Eclipse Twins. Like, this is truly the issue, right? Not these other cards. And that's where I inherently come down to... I know I segued a bit because I once again, I don't know how to format this as well as I would like to, because I worked all day yesterday. I would have done it last night at midnight, but it would have been incomprehensible, right? We're not dealing with problem cards. We're just making other cards become the problem. And we scapegoat it onto other ones. Like, sure, this list is a good push in the right direction. It's a good step. I don't want steps, I want to leap in the right direction. We need, but once again, there's a caveat. There is a caveat. There's always going to be a caveat with balance of the game, right? And it brings me back around to that, like, if these cards start getting hit these cards start getting hit and you can't lock your opponent anymore, right? Then that means cards like this just become too strong. And you have no way, not so much no way of winning, but you have a very slim chance if you get hit by any giant board breaker, right? Much like it's the same thing as in you have no chance of winning if you get floodgated. They're one and the same. They're just one's for going first and one's for going second, and yet they don't get dealt with in the same manner. They're not being treated the same. And that's because of like the lingering part, right? Like so Scythe is lingering. This is lingering. This goes to another turn. This doesn't linger, and this is where we move into my next point, which I haven't pointed. So, all right, quick recap. Point 1: if you want to get rid of floodgates, you need to get rid of board breakers, or at least have some level of like one-for-oneness to it, some level of fairness to the board breakers, so you don't just get blown out by board breakers just as often as you get blown out by floodgates. Point 2: we're not dealing with problem cards. We're not dealing with the cards that facilitate the floodgates and the locks. We're dealing with the cards that just state the text on it that it does this, right? And there are cards that facilitate the lock that can go without ruining every deck around it, right? Like, for instance, Artifact can't use Scythe or Mjolnir anymore. It's already a shit deck. Now, if you're going to release support for this archetype, maybe you can keep Scythe banned, but Mjolnir will probably have to come back, right? And the deck will still be unplayable because some of their strongest cards are gone. Because with Scythe being what Scythe does, and you bring it back, Dagda now becomes an issue. Dagda becomes a huge issue, right? But then again, so does half the cards in Artifact, because they all summon on your opponent's turn, right? So that's point 2, is that we're not dealing with problem cards. We need to look at the root problem of what's causing it. It's like, sure, Ouroboros ripped a card. Cool. What brought it back for like no cost? Eclipse Twins. Mjolnir locks you out of the game. Spirit with Idol Blue locks you out of the game. Scythe, Gimmick Puppet. We've been through this for multiple formats. Yet Albion's still around. Doesn't even really do anything in its own deck, like, to help it out that much. Like, it's not some integral part to the combo where you're like, yeah, sick, brother, this makes my board stronger. No, it's only there to lock your opponent out of the game, which just means it's not good. Protoss. Would you play it if you had to play either Flag or It at 3 to potentially lock your opponent out of the game in decks where you might not even have the attributes to banish, right? Or are you happy to play it at 1 because you play a rank 4 deck to play Infernal Flame Banshee to get a flag to get that? So now instead of having, potentially anywhere between 4 and 6 copies of Protoss, you have 1/1 and a Banshee in the extra deck. Like, there's got to be some kind of give and take on, like, what's considered a good floodgate and what's considered a bad floodgate. Like, the other floodgates, such as Anti-Spell Rivalry, will get put down to 1 because hard drawing it was the only way to really get it. D-Barry is the same, though, right? Like, you have to hard draw it. A lot of the statues tend to be the same. Like, we got rid of the Wind statue because it was searchable off Flu, right? Yet we didn't get rid of the Water Barrier statue, despite the fact that Mermail was hand ripping for 4 and getting a statue out. Runic Ice Barrier, I think it was also just summoning Ice Barrier, or Barrier of the Ice statue, whatever it is, Barrier statue of the Water, Torrent, just because they could banish something and then Synchro 7 it back. So is the Synchro 7 the worst card, or is the Barrier statue the worst card? Because in any other case, like summoning just random statues, very hard to do. The only other card I can think that does it is this thing. And this thing comes down to whatever your opponent's playing. So therefore, you could summon a statue, sure, but they're probably playing the attribute. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be this balance of floodgates with board breakers where it's like, sure, Drought is really bad and Fossil Dine is really bad, but they take your normal summon. And you look at the deck and like, well, what deck's it really a part of? Like, Fossil Diner tends to be part of like stun strategies. But if stun can't set up, Fossil Diner does nothing. The other one we were talking about the other day were the Vanity cards, right? So right now I'm playing Vanity's Ruler in Megalith because it's searchable off of Ben 10, right? And now it comes down to, is Vanity's Ruler an issue when it requires 2 monsters to tribute, can't be special summoned, and is easily outable by like a good chunk of the non-engine in the game? Not to mention, if you go through the Ben 10 route, you just stop the Ben 10, right? So you look at it and go, yeah, these cards are messed up. But a lot of the time, decks that require these normal summons of these floodgates die if the floodgate goes away. Like, sure, you scum a couple of wins here and there, but one imperm deals with all of this. Like, that's why it comes down to, it's like, when we say ban all floodgates, do we count stuff like this? Should the barrier statues even really be on there? Because once again, like, it really seems like it only matters is if the deck sets up properly. But there are so many cases where it's your only way of living for the turn because you got kind of scummed over by hand traps or by a lightning storm on the back row or by an evenly matched where it's like, sweet, I'll keep my statue, it gets me another turn. You know, I hope I'm not too off with this and my argument's not too all over the joint. I'm fine with all floodgates being banned, but then all mass board breakers also need to be banned. You need to get rid of every floodgate and every, because like, the floodgates stop you from doing anything, the board breakers stop you from doing anything, and in these formats, most of the time, a deck can just OTK. This is why I have such an issue with Nib. I think Nib's the same issue. It's technically a board wipe. Yeah, sure, they leave you a token. There's some routes where you can either play under it, play around it, play through it, get yourself an omni-negate, whatever. But that's like a ridiculous setup, right? People argue about Droll, but Droll's the same issue, where it's like, if I open 4 engine and 1 Droll, but my opponent opens just 1 engine card and 4 non-engine, I can still live with a Droll in hand, right? But if I don't have that Droll, if it's just an Ash Blossom, my opponent just wins because they open the 1 card starter. And that's why it annoys me that they've released this ban list like this, because it comes down to, what are they releasing in December when our ban list is actually meant to come up? You know? And so that's a big issue for me, where it's like, a lot of this stuff should probably go. But then this means we're most likely we need to bring the game down to 1-for-1 card interactions. I think that's it, right? I think maybe after 25 bloody minutes of talking shit, right? And I'm not cutting this at all. You're watching the whole thing, right? I think the game needs to come to a point where every card needs to somewhat be 1-for-1, maybe like 1-for-2, but more stuff needs to like target. Like, if you're like trying to pop more than 2 things, it should target. If you're trying to just like pop 1 thing, maybe it doesn't target. Floodgates, if they're going to be a normal summon, should only be utilized in decks that don't normal summon at all, so they get a little bit more out of it, right? Like, and that should be few and far between. Like, Floodgates, like Vanity's Ruler and Emptiness, and even the Barrier statues, don't do as much if the deck already needs a normal summon, right? Like, that's kind of where the game needs to head, I think. And I think just releasing 6 rando cards that have been banned, because they're somewhat prevalent right now, and rebanning a card that should have stayed banned, isn't cause for celebration, because I still think the game has a stupid amount of problems that just leave you with very, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, unsatisfied duels, right? Like, I think there are a lot of duels that are super unsatisfying, because either you win it with a Droll or a Nib, or you flip your anti-spell, flip your D-barrier, your opponent does it to you, and you're like, alright, sick. We'll just that's 20 minutes up. Like, like, that's just where a lot of the games go, I think. And I think there's proof of this, because these cards get banned. If these cards didn't get banned, or if these cards didn't have such a hold on the format or hold on the duels that often, they wouldn't get hit, right? Like, if Ouroboros wasn't consistently ripping 2 cards, if Gimmick Puppet or Mjolnir wasn't consistently locking people out of the game, there would be no need to ban it, right? So clearly these are problem cards. This style of card is an issue. I reckon we're going to run through this. They're going to ban a bunch more floodgates of just like random lingering crap. They're going to ban a bunch of it. Then we're going to see an influx of board breakers, because all of a sudden they're going to be a bit better than hand traps, because wiping a whole board away is better than potentially stopping it. And there's nothing to really stop you from playing. But like, anti-spell's never going to come up. D-barrier is never going to come up. You just get to board break it with Reckless Abandoned. We're going to see a bunch of board breakers go. I think we need to just now realize we need to head towards a very 1-for-1 card economy. So then it will promote a healthier style of play. We do not need board wipes in the form of monsters that can't be targeted. We do not need stuff that can be chain blocked that also board wipes you. We need smarter thinking. And smarter thinking and 1-for-1 card economy is the way to do it. So like I said, I think it's a good step in the right direction. I think we need leaps in the right direction, though. I think the game needs to fundamentally change at its core of how it wants to function. And I think they've already got cards like that. Like, this here is a really, really well-made card. People are using Double Cyclone at the moment against Draco Tail, right? Like, there's some really, really cool. Right, they're using Double Cyclone to dodge Flame and then pop something else. Like, it's a really, really cool tech. It's really, really smart. But when you're playing like this over this, you can play both, right? Like you just go this, and now you've just wiped the whole back row, and Draco Tail has maybe 2 monsters on board and a fusion in hand. If you can't win through that with 4 cards in hand, you're just bad at the game. But yeah, that's I'm going to stop that there. Sorry it was a bit disjointed and kind of all over the joint. But it's horribly interconnected with its arguments. But yeah, so that's what I think. Any questions? I'll elaborate in the comments if you just write something. I'll get to it in hopefully a bit more detail if this wasn't enough explanation of where I think the game should go and why I think the ban list, whilst it was good, it's a crumb of what we kind of should be getting realistically. But yeah, I'll see you later. Take it easy.